Hey everyone, Wendler here, and today we're going to talk about some sunset basics, hopefully help you improve
No one can
your
hold that light
overall
forever.
win rate on this map. Oh, this map has a really interesting macro set piece base to it. There's a foundational, like, base level fundamentals of if you're attack, you take mid. If you're on defense, you let the attackers have mid, but there's a lot of retake depth on top of that
No one knows
provides
these ones will
endless
beg.
options,
They all
endless
do,
opportunities,
after a while.
depending on how your team comp is establishing more. So first and foremost, let's talk about attack on this map. So there's kind of two major walls I agree with. The first one is luckily we did have EDG play some pro matches. So the first one here is this split A wall, which if we turn,
My ultimate is ready. Toxins going up.
see here, just a standard split wall. And then there's a orb they
Poison
also
orb
throw
emitting.
generally around
Poison's off.
lands here.
No fuel. Not enough fuel.
But it's just a standard split. Allows you to work your way up into elbow properly. And then assuming that the wall is up, and then this orb just kind of provides anti-flood protection.
Toxin poison orb emitting.
There's a lot of lurk potential
Toxin screen down.
that you can use to work with this. There's molly lineups that will land standard on the connector. I believe it's just this. That's too far. Alright, wrong line. So, yeah, just a standard A split wall.
Poison orb emitting.
The other wall that I've seen used from Edward Gaming is just a straight up B split wall, which this wall is okay, but I think this wall has infinitely more value if you're running a double wall controller, so your Harbor and your Viper, to properly split the site, doing double splice and then using your flash initiator to kind of feed that gap. I don't think this wall is bad per se, from the same logic of how teams would wall A on Breeze, just to give you kind of like a safe plant position. But I don't like when defensively you want to play containment in market. I don't like how this little gap here allows potential for a flood by the defensive team, depending on how they're playing through. So that's why I think that if you do use this wall, you need to incorporate a double splice harbor wall to really make it benefit you. A few other things on attack. Fundamentally, like, we'll go over this, we'll jump over to Valoplant, but you want to be taking mid control.
Poison orb emitting.
Work your mid to B into this market B main space, and then have the option with like a late lurker to either end A or use your Viper wall to properly work into A. This is like, I honestly think, the best default wall you can use on this map.
Toxins going up.
And then working your space accordingly. So, additionally, I do think this is the first map we have gotten where
30 seconds left.
Gekko just fundamentally works. And that is mainly because this whole map has low ceilings. As you can see, like, there's one, you know, building obstruction here. But even with that building obstruction, contrary to any other map in this game, there's a lot of windows for accessibility on takes. You can throw Dizzy into this window, see if anyone's quick swinging. You have a standard jump throw with Dizzy, to which Dizzy can tag anyone bottom mid, can tag someone trying to peek you top cat. There is another common Dizzy spot from this corner, to which Dizzy can see anyone walking up Link, can tag anyone walking out of market door, can tag someone like deep in spawn, can tag someone on A site, can tag someone walking down from elbow. On top of that, with all the low ceilings, there's also multiple windows of accessibility on this map, where you can pop Dizzy through that window. There's a window pop for mid. If we head over to CT, there's even more potential for a site clearing dizzy util
Right there.
on any rotators,
Right there.
anyone playing into
the
elbow,
spike.
anyone flooding back site. There's a lot of great potential here, and I really like how this map was designed with that in mind. There's also some cool molly lineups, like if you want to do a tiles push, which we'll go over later. There's a jump throw
Blow 'em up, Mosh.
with a mosh. Assuming I don't mess this up first time. Which covers all of this initial tiles entry and then allows you to
Right there.
keep defenders fed here. Then, in addition,
Saw you, Mosh.
there's a jump throw for connector.
Mosh pit.
Then a jump throw, assuming I don't mess that one up.
Right there. Blow 'em up, Mosh.
Jump throw that blocks
Right
any
there.
scaling from the barrier to allow you to get a control. And that potential is also really good for not only Gekko, but any type of molly agent utility, because the general skybox on the map is smaller. It's got low ceilings. So it opens up the door for potential on re-clears no matter what agents you're relatively playing, which is awesome. Like, even if you're playing Fade, you can rip a Fade eye
Right
that
there.
lands here and then covers all the site. Really hard for defenders to actively shoot, and that's overall a net positive. There's a few walls I've seen that I agree with, especially from the Edward Gaming game. First one being this wall for mid, which
Toxins going up.
allows you to cover all of A, and then you can block off this initial sight line if you want to work someone mid control. I know Edward Gaming used this wall mainly because they had Kang on Chamber, so this allows Chamber to get properly set up, take a first shot off the Viper wall, and I don't think it's really that bad of a wall,
Not
per se,
recharged yet.
to make that in use depending on your team comp. Right. The other wall that I personally like to use is this wall here. And as I talked about, our whole goal on defense is containment.
Here.
I want to contain players in market, and I want to contain players in B main. I want to make them
Toxins going up.
think about how they're going to choose to scale. And this wall properly blocks
Here.
off everything in the sight. The attacking team has to respect the fact that we
Here.
could have someone pocketed up in main. And in addition, when you
Toxins
combine
going
this with
down.
any type of smoke orb,
Not enough fuel.
once I get enough gas here to properly show this, it really chokes off this B main entrance from having any type of attack clear without a substantial utility.
Poison orb emitting.
So as you can see, it fully puts you in, makes this clear, really awkward
Poison's off.
for anyone attacking site. And then you can keep containment into mid
Here.
or containment into CT. It's okay at a base fundamental level to have attackers take this mid space. You don't really lose anything. Where you lose is when you give up market main or like deep A main without any type of control around.
It's hard not to play with my
The
feet.
other wall I've seen Edward Gaming use, which I do like. I don't actually hate this wall.
They keep clawing at our wall. Toxins going up.
Is this wall forces a multi-reclear from attacking side. So you have to clear once, and then you have to awkwardly clear twice. And if you do not have tiles control, this also allows the attackers to get into tiles
Toxin
properly
screen down.
and deal with you being weakened, should they combine it with any other piece of utility. Which I don't necessarily hate this wall. Again, I think this wall was more built towards Kang, getting him set up mid for a free one shot with teleport and get out. But it's not a bad wall at all by any means. And those are kind of like the two main supporting utility pieces. Additionally, to note on attack, and I'll go over this when we jump over to
30 seconds left.
the Valoplant here shortly, is when you are working your way from mid into market, you want to make sure that you don't get baited by smoking CT. You smoke, like, I guess, I don't know what we would call this, like deep CT. You don't want to smoke Boba. You want to smoke deep CT and contain them. Because it's a lot easier to defend this singular choke point than it is to have to deal with the awkwardness of this choke point if it's not smoked, allow defenders to play into the smoke, And it also unintentionally creates an awkward one-way for defenders to kind of play in, should you choose to smoke this way. There's a way you can avoid that one-way by smoking a little bit deeper, but that's kind of counterintuitive to how you want to play this map, especially against like being anti-flood. If there's an agent here playing with a accessible flashbang, you're giving the defending team more room to work with, all to avoid a one-way. It's just not fundamentally right, in my opinion, to play for that when you could smoke this out instead. Similar to like almost Haven's garage exit, you want to smoke that spot of the map. You want to control all of this space and have this in your hands, right? Make it really awkward for them to pop out of this corner. Aim descent gameplay. So as we talked about on defense, right? We have some walls we can use to work with. Our goal fundamentally is containment, right? We want to avoid mid when we're defending on buy rounds. And again, that's just at a base level. It's heavily attack sided, similar to Ascent. I'll just pull up our Ascent, my Ascent example. With Ascent, you don't ever really want to get caught deep mid. You want to make the attacking team respect mid with op presence or Odin presence. You want to just hold them mid, right? You want to allow them to take the space, then contain them further if you need to. But there's one set play you can do, is what players call a tiles push, where you use a combination of Omen and Sova, combination of a gap closed duelist with a KO or a flash agent, and you take control of all of this space as like a tempo play to kind of slow the attacking team down and make them kind of rethink how they're going to approach the map, right? So the same logic is applied here. There's potential for you to do something along the lines of like a tiles push with like a Gekko molly that we talked about to contain this as like a tempo or eco play, but it's not something you actively want to do all the time on defense. Most of your defensive philosophy needs to be letting them kind of have mid, contain your outer extremities. These are your keys to winning this map on defense. Okay. Now, if we jump over to attack, like we mentioned, we have our two walls that we brought up. We have the potential of harbor. Your goal is to mid. You default your wall A. You can split B if you have a double controller, but you really want a harbor to do this cleanly, as I mentioned, so that you can properly splice these parts of the map. Sorry, let me draw this properly. So you can splice this and then use your flash initiator to get the information that you're looking for, right? That's where the benefit of that comes in. So from there, you can work your standard push. I talked about Gekko molly potential on this map. You can molly the link. You can molly the elbow push up from A. There's a lot of potential for this with any molly agent relatively that you can use to make this work. But if we're going to choose our mid to B route, you want to make sure, as we just talked about, you don't smoke in Boba, you smoke deep. You want to smoke the deep CT choke. And the reason for that is I brought up the example of Haven, right? A lot of people used to smoke Haven like this, which led to flash agents being able to abuse. You want to actually smoke deeper with a little bit of a gap so flash agents cannot pop out of the smoke properly. Same rule applies here. And then once you control all of this space and you shut the door, you now have forced the CT players into like an awkward retake scenario, and you have a lot of room to work with, which your goal in a post plant, in my opinion, should be that. You don't want to let the CT team work their way up all of this space and have this be the first choke point. You want to take deep control, make them work all their way up if they want to contain or retake, I should say, your positioning on the map. So, as I mentioned here, smoking in deep CT instead allows more space coverage to stop flood, and it avoids the awkward one-way and CT box that we talked about that I just showed you from the in-game VOD to not get awkwardly one-way. So that's pretty much it for basics. On defense, contain your extremities and market are the key points you want to look for. On attack, work your mid space. Don't be afraid to heavy split A. And be aware that you want to take deep CT control on your takes, right? So that's gonna wrap up my basic macro for Sunset. If you are interested in more or like deeper strats, I can do that if needed. But the main thing, I just wanted to help get the ground level macro out of the way for players looking to have a little less confusion on this map. I played this map 10 times in rank so far. I have a 70% win rate. Even if I go through my matches, which Valoplant Pro has this really cool tool now where you can link your Riot account and it will give you like the side by side of your matches. I play mostly Gekko on this map, but you can kind of go through and check everything out round by round. But I have a 70% win rate on this map, and I have like a near 90% win rate when I play Gekko. I think I've lost one game. So I feel like I have a good read on the base fundamental macro. Obviously, there's things that can always be increased in depth, but for ranked, you really just need the basics. So I hope this video helps you. If it did, make sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button. Check out my other socials, join my Discord. I do free VOD reviews. So just join my Discord, hit me up. We can go over your VODs on stream. And then outside of that, hope to see you guys next time. You have a great rest of your day when they're out.